Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to the Mindfulness Daily Practice. Hope you're all doing okay today. We've come off a series about compassion and loving kindness and unconditional love. I mean, that's really what loving kindness is. And compassion is taking action out of unconditional love. So today we start to transition out of that series on loving kindness, but in that spirit of loving kindness, I wanted to talk about this sentence, right? The sentence of these three words: "I love you." These some people see these as really magical words, and as I'm kind of researching this topic, see just how much there is around these three words, and I start to think as well about what's it mean in English, what's it mean in other languages. It's interesting because half of my family is Chinese, so seeing how that phrase works in Chinese as well, because it's really different, I think, than how we use it in English. And that in Chinese you don't, this isn't a common phrase that's heard spoken between even a husband and wife. It's just different, and I think that's what's really interesting about it. Is like what we use these three words for, and what's it mean when it even language itself, right? So when I say I love you, there's what happens first is there's a part that inside of me that connects to a feeling, or an emotion, or even maybe some kind of commitment. Something inside of me connects with that phrase or some feelings, and then it forms in my mind, and my emotions kind of culminate into those three words, and then those words come out of my mouth, and those words, as they come out of my mouth, land on the ear of another person, right? So it's thought and emotion transforming into sound, and this sound coming out of my mouth, hitting the ear of someone else, and then this kind of same process going. So these three words come into that person's ear, their mind and emotions interpret it, and have some kind of feeling associated with those words as well. So I guess really what the point here is that when you say I love you, it means something completely different for you than what it means for the other person. Because what's it connect with? What kind of thoughts, emotions, memories are associated with you, and what kind of thoughts, memories, and emotions are associated with that other person that hears it? So this is true for pretty much everything that we speak about, but this one in particular, because can be so charged and so emotional, it's one to really pay attention to understand this concept that you're speaking it and the other person hearing it are two different things. So this is really kind of the first piece, right? The second piece of what's going on here is, well, when we talk about loving kindness and we talk about unconditional love, that sums it up. Unconditional love, loving without expecting anything in return, loving without needing that person to be anything else. And I think rarely, at least in English, since English is my native language, and probably many of us who are here anyway, what does I love you mean when we say that? And when we say it, let's say to a romantic partner, is it unconditional love, or is there some kind of expectation? Is there something charged with that? What does I love you mean? Does it mean, and here's what I find it tends to mean more than anything, is that my happiness is conditional on your being with me, right? It comes from a place of vulnerability, but from a place of I need you. My happiness depends on you. Now say I love you back. Right? I think this is a lot of times we really get caught up on that. Like, oh, I've said I love you. Now I really need to hear it back. It's so important to hear that. And then, going back to step one. So even if the person does say it back to you, it doesn't mean exactly what you said when you said it anyway. So, I think it's really important to, especially when we have such high expectations around these words. And why do we have high expectations around the words anyway? If love is unconditional, then what expectations do we have? So a lot of times I love you means more like I need you. I have some feeling of strong sexual attraction for you. Right, and these are, and then so hearing it back makes me feel better, because then there's some reciprocity to this feeling of desire that I have towards you, and I think that's really key as well. Is that often I love you is strongly associated with desire and attachment, and these are, as we've kind of chatted many months ago, as we talked about desire and attachment, that these are things that cause suffering in the long term, cause ourselves to suffer by having strong desire and attachment, because because it is conditional, right? What if that person doesn't love me back? What if I say I love you and it means like, do this for me, right? Often there is something very highly charged with this word, and it comes with expectations. So the challenge here as we exit our series on loving kindness and compassion is to be aware when you use these words, what they really mean for you, for the other person, to investigate that, and to know that the kind of love that we talk about here in this kind of practice isn't the kind of love and desire. And so sometimes when we're doing compassion practice, and I ask you to say I love you to yourself, to make sure that we're distinguishing that I love you from these other kinds of I love yous that are out there. I think also it's another reason why I'm hesitant to use those words in a loving kindness practice, just because of how heavily charged they can be, and how this tends to connect to a lot of things that happened in the past. How important is that? How important is it for your mother and father to have said I love you when you were a child? What does that mean? My parents never said it. Let's say, right? In my case, it wasn't like that. These words were uttered a lot in my household, but that doesn't necessarily mean that things are fantastic. That's not, words are just the mouth making shapes and the breath coming out, right? Words are easy to say. Actions are a bit harder, and I find that my people that I know who grew up in Hong Kong or in China, or I suppose I haven't talked about it much to my Singaporean friends, but this phrase is used a lot less, and so maybe not to pity ourselves if we didn't hear these words. What's so important about it anyway? Why are we attached to saying these words, to hearing these words? So and know that really behind our practice of love and compassion is unconditional love that Love for yourself, love for everybody else in this practice is not about wanting anything in return. It's about seeing if we can be loving of ourselves and those around us exactly as we are, exactly as they are, noticing that like us, they are human beings and worthy and deserving of love as anything else may be. So, thanks everybody for being here. I promise you I will look through the chat. I see there's a lot of action. I'll look through the chat after our practice is over, but we're going to go ahead and get into our practice now. So it is going to be a self-compassion practice. So getting used to and accustomed to not just leaning into the words, but also learning how to care for ourselves in a deeper, maybe connecting more emotionally and learning to care for ourselves. So sit in any position that's comfortable for you. If you like, allowing your eyes to close. And starting out just by noticing that you're breathing, that you're here. Your body's here. You can feel the sensation of sitting, of your buttocks on the cushion, or a chair, or sofa. Noticing that you're breathing. How do you know that you're breathing? Can you feel your shirt getting tighter each time you breathe in as your belly and chest expand? As you breathe out, what does that feel like? How do you know that your body is expanding and contracting with each breath? Is it the change of the feeling of your shirt getting tighter and looser? Is it the feeling of the stretching of the skin of the abdominal wall? Do you have some awareness of your chest moving up and down? Your rib cage expanding and contracting? So how do you know that you're breathing? And just taking a few moments to observe the physical sensations that accompany your breath. Holding attention here as best you can, at least for a few moments. Fully focused on the inhale, fully focused on the exhale. And as we begin to still our minds in the present moment, also examining the state of the mind. Is the mind clear? Is the mind agitated? Something in between? How about the state of the emotions now? So this is me. This is the me that's here now. So rolling out the red carpet, welcome me. Welcome the me that's here now. Today. In this moment. So knowing that you do not need to be any different from how you are in this moment. That the you that is here is already here. So sometimes we want to strive to be better, to be maybe more relaxed. So not worrying about it. Instead, welcoming the me that's here today, here right now. And seeing if it's possible for you to love yourself that's here right now, exactly the way that you are. Unconditionally. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past. It doesn't matter who you were. That person's gone. The you that's here now is the one that's here now. So can I open my arms to myself? To be my own inner ally. Know that no matter what happens, I can be here for myself. Making myself an agent of my own resilience. I'm here for you. I love you. We're going to get through this together. So no matter what the full catastrophe of your life may be like, you can always be here for yourself. So teaching ourselves how to be kinder to ourselves with that inner voice. That with a kinder inner voice, we can get back up. We can face the challenges of our lives. I'm here for you. I love you. We'll get through this. And so no matter what you may feel about yourself, no matter what you may be facing, no matter what the condition of your body may be, know that as long as you are breathing, there is more right with you than wrong with you. And so it's possible as well, if you like, to bring some well wishes to yourself. So continuing to incline the heart to love and kindness to ourselves. So if you like, repeating after me, you can do it out loud or you can do it silently. Or if you don't feel comfortable doing it, you don't have to do it at all. You can just stay mindfully paying attention to the breath. So I'll start with the phrases now. May I be happy and contented. May I be happy and contented. May I be safe and protected, free from inner and outer harm. May I be safe and protected, free from inner and outer harm. May I be healthy and whole to whatever degree possible. May I be healthy and whole to whatever degree is possible for me. May I be at peace. May I have ease of well-being. May I be at peace. May I have ease of well-being. And adding any phrases you like, any phrases that are helpful and supportive to you, you can add to here to yourself, sending more well wishes to yourself, inclining the heart towards kindness and unconditional love towards self. So continuing to repeat whatever phrases are helpful, inclining your heart towards love and kindness. And so remembering that words are just words. Is it possible to incline the heart towards these feelings of being happy, of being safe, the feeling of being whole, the feeling of being peaceful? And now, wherever you are, just letting go of these phrases, just coming back to observing the body, observing the mind, observing the emotions that are here in this moment. And maybe out of this simple observation, some gratitude and kindness for who we are here now in this moment can begin to rise. So just noticing what's here now. And so let's pay complete and full attention to the next 3 breaths. And then focus your attention completely on your sense of hearing, as I'll close practice with 3 rings of the bell. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here today. The first ring was a little quiet. I hope you heard it. All right, well, thank you for being here. Thanks for practicing compassion and for thinking through what does I love you mean. I think it's an interesting topic to go through, especially after we've spent all of last week talking about love and kindness and compassion. So really kind of figuring out what does I love you mean. So thanks for being here. As I saw earlier, there's a lot of activity in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and have a look through all of that. Rachel says, I really wonder what love is. And it's interesting. I mean, when I read this, the first thing that comes to my mind is it's a word. Love is a word. It's an articulation of a concept that is different for everyone who hears it and everyone who says it. So thanks, Rachel, for bringing it up, and thank you for your donation. Dirk says, I keep these words for only persons who are important in my life and do not use it often. Thanks, Dirk, for sharing. Rachel says, my parents never said it. Their actions were also hard to read. That's what's so interesting too. So a lot of this does come out of what we experienced in childhood. So, how we were brought up and what kinds of feelings we had. We were taught so much, whether we know it or not. Whether it's on purpose or not, and we learn so much from our parents and from our families. And Liz says, feeling happy and grateful for another event. It's great to have you here, Liz, and everybody as well. Angela says, I'm from a traditional Chinese family, and we never said that either. And now I say it all the time to my husband. Thanks, Angela. Bumpy says, how do you choose your friends? Well, this is, Rachel shares, my friends choose me. That's a big topic, isn't it? How do you choose your friends? It's a long journey. Certainly, I'd say at my age, it takes years for me to make friends, to have people who I really consider to be close to me. Liz says, to the world you may be just one person, but to one or more person you are the world. Thanks, Liz. I think this is kind of what I'm talking about as well, is that, to be careful, right? To be careful how much attachment, how much we rely on others, because we are all impermanent. Even the you that's here now, it's going to be a different you than the one that's here tomorrow. And you now are different from the you that was here yesterday. So, you never know what's going to happen. Thanks, Liz. And Barbara, thanks. Barbara says, I love you from a person who says it a lot and means I want your well-being. I want the best for you always. Thank you, Barbara. Thanks so much. Which is really, this is, what is unconditional love anyway? Thanks, Jean. Thanks, Tina, for being here. And thanks everyone for your participation today in today's practice and your participation in the chat. There's some, for those that watch the recording later, there's some other stuff, other things going on in the chat that between people that I don't feel need to necessarily read it out loud. So just great little things about love and being loved. Thank you, everybody. Okay, we will continue closing out these topics of love and compassion tomorrow. Tomorrow our topic is why have compassion for your enemies. So we continue kind of closing out these ideas around love and compassion. So look forward to sharing that with you. Come back tomorrow and we'll do yet some more practice as we do. So let's close with some more well wishes to ourselves and some well wishes for each other and for all of humanity. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone watching, listening right now, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. May all human beings around the world and all sentient life throughout the universe be happy and peaceful. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.